Hey heroes, Kolz here. Today I'm going to be going through the best heroes for Dragon's Tower as of November 2025. Dragon's Tower has, over the last several months, become one of my favorite events in Heroes vs. Hordes. When it first started off, I did content that was way too easy, and it just wasn't a lot of fun. Instead of having kind of any challenge at all, it was just how do you get through 30 floors as fast as you can. Well, now they've improved it tremendously. They've added in some chase heroes in Minotaur and a chase weapon in the Bulwark, not to mention that they've made it only 20 floors instead of 30. Now, while you get slightly less exchange tokens each time, it goes a lot faster and it feels a lot more fun. And the big thing with Dragon's Tower is you actually want to push the difficulty. Dragon's Tower gets fun when you're doing it hard mode, and it's really boring when you're doing it easy mode. So I would suggest actually trying to push your limits in the game mode and then coming back a little bit if you need to. Now, when it first released, I had full mythic gear and had about, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 damage, and I was starting at Dragon Towers 15, and that was way too easy. So it gives you a point of reference for like maybe where you should start. That said, I have tried all of my heroes over the last like 4 or 5 months now in Dragon's Tower, so I have a pretty good sense of who's good amongst my hero set, and I own about 47, 48 of all the now 72 heroes in this game. I outreached to people on Reddit in my guild to figure out who else was good, so I should have a pretty good sense of the best heroes for Dragon's Tower, and then maybe I'm missing a couple that are kind of like in between the best and the next best. So, hey everyone, thanks for showing up in the chat. Cemar can't join us today, unfortunately, and I have a little bit of a new setup here. This tier ranking software is provided by VKNinja, one of the executive producers. He's been helping me code it up in the background, so big shout out to him. I'll link to this software in the description of the video at the end. So if you want to try it, it's actually way better than any of the other tier list software that's out there, and he's only been working on it for like a couple weeks. So really, really cool. And then hello to Orchardist and everyone else. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. I have my stream up on my phone in parallel here because I'm doing it in full screen. So if anything gets janky, yell. But this should go better than it has been going. The way I think about heroes in Dragon's Tower is basically like in a chess set, also, or like in a set of cards. So I'm using the analogy of chess for now. I don't know if it totally fits because I don't actually know if a queen is better than a king. But in my head, the queen is the most powerful chess piece. I have never been like amazing at chess, but I remember the queen doing a whole heck of a lot, and kings being the most important one you don't want to lose, but maybe not the best. And then knights are strong pieces in chess, and in this case will be strong heroes in Dragon's Tower. And when you define strong in Dragon's Tower, as you progress through it, it's basically just can you clear a floor. Like that's actually really, really helpful later floors of Dragon Tower, later difficulties of Dragon Tower. Just can you clear a floor? Pawns are people that help set up all of your other heroes, and then worse than pawns are people that actually make it worse during the run. So there are a couple of heroes, and there's some scenarios that I'll get to when they pop up here that actually can make the run worse, which is, you don't want that. Okay, so I have this new cool setup over here, so I can like scroll through all the heroes. Unfortunately, Priestess and Gladiator weren't in his game file, so they have some different kind of art, but it'll make do. Oh. So yeah, so I'll hop right into it, and if anyone disagrees with any of my thoughts, please let me know. I again own most of the heroes, and I've learned about the other ones, but if I have something wrong or too low, too high, shout it out, and I will address it as best I can. Okay, I'm gonna start here with Artificer. Artificer is somewhere in the Kings to Knight ratio. Artificer is super high damage, but he doesn't have any healing. And with Artificer, he'll be able to clear out usually a floor, maybe 2, depending on your level of difficulty. Now, the big thing that's helpful in Dragon Tower is healing. Like that's the secret OP, or shields, like any form of keeping your health up, which he doesn't have. So I'll probably put him down at Knights here. At higher levels, he'll be good because of his damage for clearing out a floor. But if he takes any kind of damage, it'll stick. And for floors with 1500 Horde, where you're gonna get hit, he's less strong. So he's better for like a 3500 Horde floor, where you're just gonna have to like straight damage. So Artificer is somewhere in that range. Same thing with Assassin. These guys are guys that are really good for doing damage and can clear out a floor for you, but because they can't heal, might have trouble going into higher and doing more than one floor at a time. So like that is one very particular niche. It's just like high damage heroes. And they will usually be good for like a floor, but they're going to take damage. So they're not going to be able to do multiple floors. Shield Warden is probably not the best, but he's up there. Let's see here. So Astral Mage is our first queen, our first S+ tier kind of hero. Astral Mage has the potential, and many people in my guild will say that Astral Mage is the premier hero for Dragon's Tower. The big thing here is a combination of shielding and a whole ton of damage. Astral Mage, you need to get to at least 4 star levels. Before that, she doesn't do anything. But at 4 star levels, her skills start ramping up so well that she can be one of the best heroes in Dragon's Tower. The key to Dragon's Tower is surviving the first 10 seconds without taking damage and getting in a position to start snowballing from leveling up. So the best heroes are the ones that can just survive literally the first 10 to 20 seconds with just survive them. Like that is what separates a pawn from a knight, is just can you get past the first 10 seconds of the level when you don't get any extra levels. And Astral Mage not only can get through the first 10 seconds, but then can continue to scale through the rest of the floor. So I'm going to come back to this in a little bit, but the first 10 seconds of any floor are the most important part of the floor. So you know. And Astral Mage has the workings to be probably the top 2, top 3, maybe even the best Dragon Tower hero. All right, Arcane Mage is the first example of worse than pawns, and I'll go over why this is. So the several times I've tried to use Arcane Mage, she can't get past the first 10 seconds, which is obviously a big problem. But then after that, further into the run, if you bring her in just to maybe grab a level, if you die right after spawning, you have, particularly like late into the floor, you have a chance to spawn like the end of floor mobs, the end of floor horde. And those are like the purple kind of dragony guys that have a ton of health and do a ton of damage. And what can happen is if you get into a spiral too late in a floor where you have 2 or more heroes kind of die in succession really quickly, you get only those mega mobs spawning. And this actually almost doomed 1 or 2 of my runs when like I didn't realize that mega spawn would happen, and it like completely took out Warlord or it took out Werebeast. So if you bring in Arcane Mage and she dies right away, and then you bring in one of your like kings or queens to like clean up the floor, they can get hit by these massive awful mobs and just die too. And so that's what I mean worse than pawns, is that like they're so bad you actually might not even want to play them in Dragon's Tower, at least not in the middle of a run. You could potentially start off a floor with them, for example. So that's what a worse than pawn is. Someone that actually makes your run worse, or has the potential to, because they can't clear like the first set of resetting mobs. All right, so I'm gonna hop into my chat real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything and see if that explanation makes sense so far. Could I explain the difference of just the numbers when it comes to kill count in the tower? Kolz still scared. From that time, he had infinite mega dragons. Yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Those infinite mega dragons, wax fruit. That's exactly the problem. Like those can end a run, and you don't want to put in a hero so bad that they accidentally spawn. It's intentional, apparently. It's like not a bug. So if you die in succession late in the floor, you can get the mega dragons of death. You don't want those. Can I explain the difference of just the numbers when it comes to kill count? Okay, so there are 2 types of floor types. Base floor types. 3,500 horde floors are the ones that will not have special sections where you have to dodge out of like interesting horde, and the 1,500 horde floors will have 2 special sections that have unique mobs that you have to deal with, whether they be archers or spectral ghosts, kamikaze bugs, those kinds of things. Those 1,500 horde floors, when those special events occur within them, are really difficult not to take any damage. During those event times, you will typically have to be like kiting an elite while you're dealing with all these special mobs, and you will get hit. So like you're gonna take damage, and the better heroes can either shield through it or heal it up. Because it's just like, even like I haven't seen no one really live stream or plays Dragon's Tower, so I don't actually have any footage of it besides maybe hacks at like high levels. But I think everyone gets hit then. So I like to think everyone gets hit, and I'm pretty good at this. And that's why those floors can be harder for heroes that don't have shields or healing. And then there's more variation within them. The one that I call the kitchen sink is the hardest floor. So that's a 1500 horde floor where you get all the special mobs at the end. Now it balances out because you get a lot of XP, and XP can be really hard to come by in Dragon's Tower, but you're going to be dealing with like elite mobs, kamikaze bugs, those orange jumping slimer things, archers, and it can get really, really hairy if you don't have a healing hero at that point. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, all right, on to the next one. Barb. Barb is actually, I found to be very good. He is a leftover. He used to be the best hero in the game back in the day, and he's still got a little bit of that in him. He's just super high damage, and he's got massive AoE, and he starts doing more damage the less health he has. And for all of those reasons, if you actually get him to like a quarter of health, you can survive through one or several floors in Dragon's Tower. So I actually have him above like a high level knight, maybe like a low level king. He's better than Artificer and Assassin. Barbarian I haven't used in Dragon's Tower. From all I can tell from Reddit and Guild and Discord is that he's like not a good hero. He's got really good passives, but the hero itself kind of isn't that great. He does have healing. He can eat some pretzels for healing. So if anyone has an opinion on Barbarian that shouldn't be down here, let me know. But everything I've read is that he's not just generally like great hero design overall. Big game hunter I have as a pawn too. So pawns are important. Like in chess, I'm not a high level chess player, but the concept is still that like every piece on your board means something, and pawns do matter. So pawns, what you use are to just beat the first 10 seconds. Ideally, a pawn can just live long enough to get one level up. Like that's all a pawn wants to do. So they're gonna die, but if they can get one level, it's a success. So like if they start off a floor and gain you a level, that's what you're going for. And so Big Game Hunter can usually do that because he has single target, like single directional damage. You can usually like clear out enough horde to get a level. At least that's been my experience. He's not very good after that. Blademaster is the same kind of thing. I think he's a strong pawn. I've used him to beat a whole floor at the upper levels, but typically he'll die before the end of the first floor. So somewhere around here, again, you can use his single target damage to clear out some horde and get a level. The other thing to note too is that newer heroes with adventure hero scaling, so like the newer heroes that have like massive scaling by star level, typically are going to be better in this mode than older heroes that don't get that level of scaling from star levels. And star levels are very important. Blossom Ronin I don't have, and I've played with him a little bit on the God account. I don't think he's particularly great. I probably have him somewhere like in a high pawn, low knight kind of range. If anyone has like anything else on him, let me know. But a couple of these heroes in a row now are going to be kind of like that. So same thing with Bombardier. Not a very strong hero from all I can read. That said, these two guys both get adventure scaling. So if you can get them up to like 4-star levels, they'll be helpful. Maybe they can clear out like a floor or so for you, which again is good. I'm going to skip over Bunny for a half a second here and go to Rune Master. Again, this is the kind of guy that just can't kill anything, and that can actually mess up your run more. So like even if you have him available, you might not want to use him just because he doesn't have the damage to go through that initial set of horde. Bunny I have as a high king. Bunny and Barbarian are like, they're just stronger versions of Artificer and Assassin in my experience, where they do so much damage that they can at least get you like 2 floors. So queens are like, can ace the whole 0 to 20. Kings are like 2-3 floors. Knights are like a floor, and pawns are the beginning of a floor. It's kind of how I think of them. And the goal of Dragon's Tower was to use your whole roster. Like I know they rank you at the end of the leaderboard based on your how many deaths you have, but like don't worry about dying, because at the end of the day it's just about beating it. The deaths don't really matter for much. Let's see here. Circuit Breaker is going to be one of these kind of pawn guys, I imagine. I don't think he's a very strong hero. Nobody talks about him. So he's probably just a pawn. He is really important for boosting up Sentry Specialist, which I am learning more about. Clockwork Mage I have as a low king. Clockwork Mage, if you get the right weapons to supplement her slow, can clear out a couple floors for you. She'll take damage eventually, but her massive slow combined with like her doing enough damage, if you then combine it with like weapons appropriate for Dragon's Tower, she can clear a couple floors. And what I mean by that is there are weapons that don't require cooldown. So I go over this in all the other Dragon Tower videos I've ever done, but things like Scrap Hammer, but then the new ones that I'm learning about are Cow Whistle and Phantom Fang. Anything else that's just like permanently on the battlefield can actually supplement and do enough damage to get her through a couple of floors. Because her big thing is she can survive, but she usually can't clear the horde before they get to her. And so you're just looking for damage from wherever you can get it. The same thing applies in Hard Mode Arena. And Owl from the Cakery has done an excellent job of explaining how Clockwork Mage works in Arena and how to make that work. And you take the same in Hard Mode Arena, and you take the same logic and you apply it here, which is like, how do you squeeze the most damage from the heroes that you do have? Tinkerer I like a lot. I consider him like a low king, a high knight. He'll clear a floor or two for you. This is a surprising amount of damage because he can get his ult to proc really quickly. So if you have him at like 4 star levels, you can get this ult to proc and he'll clear out a floor, maybe 2 for you pretty reliably. So maybe like a high knight, somewhere in here. Tinkerer is surprisingly strong in Dragon's Tower. Real quick, just so I forget this, I remember to say it. You can always join my Patreon or join YouTube as a member for a chance to win a monthly HVH giveaway. Just gave that one out the other day. I think TallaNasty, no, Arc won it this month. So if you join and become an executive producer, you get 5 entries. If you become a member, you get 1, and you get early access to all videos that are coming out on the channel, in addition to a subscriber-only chat. So. Please become a member if you can. Really appreciate it. It means a lot to me, guys. Okay. Next up, Crystalmancer. So I was just talking to Spider's Pig about Crystalmancer. Crystalmancer is one of like these adventure scaling heroes. It just doesn't have a forge yet. I think Crystalmancer's actually got a super high damage cap, but you need star levels for her. So like think 4 star levels, and she'll be like a solid clear out of floor for you kind of hero. She does a whole ton of damage even at 3 star levels. So 4 star levels will really push her over the top. And I think if she ever gets a forge, she'll be really strong in boss brawl. But for now, she's also like a middling kind of Dragon's Tower hero. And let me look real quick through the chat in case I'm missing anything here. Hey, to everybody that's here now, appreciate it, guys. Circuit Breaker's too expensive. I am saving up. I'm 150,000 tokens towards that, dude. All for boss brawl. Can you talk about gear options straight off? Yes, Sugar. I will talk a little bit about gear and stuff as we go along, as it kind of comes up naturally. But I'm going to try and focus more on the heroes here because I've done a whole bunch of Dragon Tower videos that focus primarily and only on like the gear and stuff. So you can check those out if you want like a more detailed guide, but I will gloss over them here. Dark Paladin. Dark Paladin is a really, really strong hero. He's super forge dependent, but if you get the forge, he like caps out really high. So he's somewhere here in the king range. His big problem with Dragon's Tower is just he can't heal. So he has the slows and the disruption and the damage to clear the horde, but if he takes damage, it sticks. And while in easier levels of Dragon's Tower, you can use geysers to heal up, it is not a reliable source in the more difficult floors. You're going to be kiting way too much stuff to reliably sit in geysers unless it's like at the end of like a 3,500 horde floor where you have enough damage and can like heal up after that. So heroes that can't heal do have a big penalty in Dragon's Tower in my book. Heal their shield. Dark Ranger has been really bad for me. A couple times I've used him, he just does not get anywhere. I know he's got a slow in his kit. And I actually have a couple like skill levels in him, but it's just not good. Dark Mage I don't own. I imagine that Dark Mage is somewhere in this range. Dark Mage does a ton of damage. It'll be interesting to see that release notes that just came out, if they nerf Dark Mage, the dead horde not spawning any of her projectiles might be a big nerf. I don't know if it is or not. So it's something to check. Because right now, Dark Mage does a ton of damage in most game modes. And so like that ton of damage like probably puts her up here somewhere. I don't know why I'm saying her. I don't know what Dark Mage is, but Dark Mage, it is probably somewhere here. I've had really not good luck with Dragon Empress in Dragon's Tower. I would think she'd have enough damage. She does like pretty solid, like straightforward damage, but it just hasn't been enough for me. So, but she's usually good to like start off a floor somewhere in here. All right, so here's an interesting one, Druid. Druid was recommended to me. I don't own Druid, unfortunately, but I don't remember who it was on Discord said that Druid can be pretty solid because its 5-star Forge has healing, and he's just like a damage monster kind of later in the game. I imagine a 4 or 5, definitely a 5-star Druid and maybe a 4-star Druid with a 5-star Forge could be somewhere in the low Queen's High King. This one, I don't have any like empirical testing on by myself, so like if anyone else has an opinion, but I was given it as a rec, and it intuitively makes sense to me. So I'm gonna put it here. I can't like move them down this thing, but he's probably gonna be like somewhere in this range. And again, VKNinja did a really cool job on this. So appreciate it, man. This is a nice tier app. Easter Chicken. I play with him on my God account. I don't like him as like a hero. I think the art is really weird. I don't like him. I don't like his abilities. Gotta like hang around his nest and stuff. I'm not a fan. So probably like here somewhere. If anyone's got an opinion on the Easter Guardian, feel free to speak up. Energy Mage should be good in this. Energy Mage has a constant projectile on the screen and just shoots like a ton of little orbs that bounce all over the place. Like I feel like he should have enough damage, and he just doesn't. Even last week when he was featured, I have him at 4-star levels and with 4-star skills in each, and he just doesn't do enough damage. He doesn't have a slow or anything like that either, so like he can't compensate for his lack of damage. I feel like with the Forge, right, he's maybe got a chance, but right now he's like really not that strong. He's better than the pawns, but he's not as good as I think he could be or should be. Fire Mage I have used as a pawn before, where you're able to clear out a little bit, and I don't think he was featured, was he? Ice Mage, Ice Wizard, Frost Wizard. When he was featured, it was actually really strong for me. So again, featured heroes in this game mode are super important. 3 times damage, 3 times health is mega huge. So if you're on the fence about whether or not to push for the next difficulty floor, if you have a couple of good featured heroes, like just go for it, because featured heroes can really make the difference. When Frost Wizard was featured, he cleared out like 5-6 floors for me, and that was before I knew this one trick to clear out Dragon's Tower much easier, which I'm going to tell you about later. Frost, let's switch her name. Elsa, Frost Queen, not very strong. She might actually be down here. The problem is she doesn't have enough damage. So if you don't have enough damage, you're just going to make things worse, basically. Geomancer is a good guy. So he's probably like a high pawn, low knight. 4-star levels is really big for him. Again, he's one of these guys that gets scaling there. And his ultimate always procs is his basic attack is his ultimate, which is big. And it slows. What you do need to have, though, for him, he's going to need a Forge. At some point here, like, these Forgeless dudes are going to need a Forge if they want to, like, make the step up. So he's going to be, like, a good for 1 floor kind of guy. If he ever gets a Forge, he can move up higher. Thanks, Paradox, for the Superman. Appreciate it. Chicken Little is bad, Mosin says. So I agree with that. He felt really bad when I was playing with him. Let's see. Dark Mage is a queen. All right, sweet. I got the she right. Let's see here. Missed anything else? Yeah, hopefully Dark Mage doesn't get nerfed too hard. Ethereal Slug of Darkness. It's a good one to put it. I stepped on a slug. Actually, my friend in college stepped on a snail in California where they're pretty big. And the thing popped, and it's like scarred me for life. I still remember that sound to this day for stepping on the snail. Ugh. Paradox will vouch for Druid. Okay, so that's 2 vouches for Druid. That's a good sign. Yeah, so Waxfree just is describing the fix that they have for Dark Mage, which is definitely going to be a nerf. It just depends on how big the nerf is and how common Dead Horde were shooting off her projectiles. Times 3 damage times 1.5 HP. Yeah, okay, sorry, I have the numbers wrong there. But the times 3 damage part is the big one. The big thing with Dragon's Tower is usually damage in my experience. So, actually saying that Elsa's more of a pawn. So I believe him. I don't own Elsa. Elsa, I've always wanted for the freeze damage on her 3-star forge, but with the nerf to boss brawl, like Elsa has no value now, which is kind of sad. She used to like that three. Actually, you know what? I need to really redo my global rankings. I'll do that next week. Because they took off the freeze for boss brawl. That's like a big nerf to Elsa, Frost Queen. So keep that in mind, I guess. Glacial Sentinel has been bad for me. I feel like this hero's got potential, but just something doesn't quite click. You probably need 4-star levels, and I don't have that with him. But he's close, but like not quite. So he's probably somewhere here. It'll be interesting to see. I actually didn't test this. What's going to happen when ooh, it goes to 2 lines. Okay, cool. Who did I throw in here? Oh, Gravescraper. Gravescraper. So Gravescraper, I have high hopes for. It's too early for me to totally know. Let's see if I can get this a little bit centered better. And I might tell VKNinja to make these tiles shrink probably instead of go to 2 lines for the next tier list, but I'll make do here. I could probably these yeah, I'll look about later. Okay, so Gravescraper is an adventure hero, an actual adventure hero, so he's got adventure hero damage scaling. So I think 4 or 5-star levels, when you get spitting plants, he's gonna be really strong. Spitting plants is a big damage upgrade for him. That's the 2-star forge. So I think for me right now at 3-star levels, he's probably here. At 4 stars in a forge, he's probably somewhere in this night range. He'll actually do a pretty solid amount of damage. So let's put him here. I like Gravescraper as a hero a lot. I think thematically it's an interesting concept, but but I think like as a potential upside with a forge, he's really strong. You do need spitting plants. Like that was a big thing I learned in testing. Hoplite I think is generally not great. Some people might have a different opinion of him. All I've heard is from the guild. His damage requires his shield to bounce around, which can take a while, and he doesn't have adventure scaling. So his big boost is really in his global. His times 1.1 to damage 3-star forge is ginormously important. Same thing with Dark Paladin. But he's probably somewhere in that kind of range. Inkbot has been bad for me in my limited testing. So again, this is like a 3-star Inkbot. I don't have high hopes for him. He's a fun hero-ish to play, but probably like a pawn. I need to put some people down in here, so he's gonna get down there right now for now. Rosemother. Does anyone have any thoughts on Rosemother? So I know in Boss Brawl she's actually pretty strong, and she has a slow built into her kit. I'm pretty sure you're gonna need a forge for her, but given if you have a forge, I think she's pretty strong. So. And what you'll notice too is like this is actually a pretty good distribution. You have a lot of heroes that can just clear out a floor for you. And like that is super helpful. Any hero that can clear out a floor, maybe 2, like start the next one, really big. So don't sleep on knights. Leprechaun I really like. The big thing with Leprechaun is his pot of gold can instant clear elites. So my big issue with him is like basically surviving to the elite phase. Like the first 10 seconds, 20 seconds can still be hard. But if you can get some elites to spawn, he can one-shot them. And that'll just free up the level for him or for the next hero. His base weapon does a ton of damage. And while I've done some limited testing on his 5-star forge on the god account, I don't think the shield is like strong enough to really help in Dragon's Tower. It does add a whole ton of damage. And so a forged up Leprechaun is actually pretty solid. Now, I don't know how many people actually have forged up Leprechauns, but if you do, I think he's actually pretty solid in Dragon's Tower. Lionheart. Lionheart needs a forge. As I choke on Coke. Lionheart needs a forge. He's already really strong. He's already a knight, so he already can clear out a floor or 2 for you. Again, if they give these guys some forges, be really strong. He's part of the Warriors Guild, which is big. because he boosts up Knight and he gets the armor bonus from Knight and from Shield Warden. So Lionheart has potential upside. For me, he's usually good for a floor. So I like Lionheart a lot. Iron Forge is wonky, just like a wonky hero. It's really hard to get the damage where you want it to go. It's his biggest downside. So I'm not a big fan. Nutcracker, when he was the featured hero, like carried me that week. So again, like he gets adventure scaling. You're gonna need 4 stars, and like a 3 or 4 star forge would be great. You have those things, and he's like a strong upper tier knight kind of guy. So I tried Minotaur on the God account in Dragon's Tower, and it felt awful. This is why I don't recommend Minotaur. It's because like this dude should be built for endgame, but his whole kit revolves around him getting hit, and he can't heal. So in order for him to do anything, he's got to get hit by Horde, but you can't heal in Dragon's Tower. So he's really good for Nightmare mode, and he's really bad for Dragon's Tower, which is frustrating. So I don't know about this guy. I did not enjoy playing with him. I don't recommend getting him. I recommend Bulwark as your first reward, and then I've been putting special tokens in or hero shards into Bunny, to 5-star Bunny, and now I'm putting. My plan is to put more exchange currency into the forge for Bulwark. So I'm actually forging up Bulwark before going for Minotaur. I think I'll probably stop for the last 10 floors, because if I clear out the last 10 floors, I should be able to get him on floor 50. But up until this point, Minotaur has been like really disappointing and not somebody you should be chasing after, at least in my opinion. Monk, I have is like a low-level knight. I have him at 5-star forge and 4-star levels, and he can like usually he'll clear out the first 10 seconds for you, but he has trouble getting past 1 floor in my experience. Just he's more disruption based, and he doesn't have enough damage. I don't have Necromancer, as we all know. Makes me sad. But based on his kit and how well he works in like Nightmare mode, I gotta imagine he's a strong hero for Dragon's Tower. You can use the minions to kite Horde and to take all the damage, so you should be able to live. So I'm gonna put him here. If anyone thinks he should be a queen, let me know. But I think he's probably like middle king. Glacial is decent. Yeah, Glacial is decent, but just I think it needs a forge. Let's see here. Every time I call her Elsa. There is a lot of similar IP in this. That is true. Maybe I should stop doing that. Although I'm just a guy. I'm a guy in his basement with no affiliation. Let's see here. There's a whole conversation going on about Frost Queen, so you guys can talk about her. Okay, yeah, Rose Mother I've only ever heard good things about. Lionheart can clear 3 or 4 floors. Aim, I know you're somebody else in Discord or in the guild, and I can never remember who you are exactly. So I have like this mental map of like player names because they just vary all over the place. People talk to me in different spots. So let me know who you are, and I can put a name to a name. Yeah, Minotaur is sad. At least in my experience, Minotaur was not, when I was playtesting, it just felt really, really bad. Yeah, the ones with those, so like Misfortune and Pirate Queen are pretty close, and Oriana and Clockwork Mage are similar. I feel like Werebeast is just a werewolf. That's kind of like standardy, kind of like it's hard to make a werewolf look different. But yeah, the Oriana relationship is pretty good. Like they could have made it a dude, you know, or like not that. The interesting thing about Heroes vs. Hordes is they don't sexualize any of the characters as a point of reference. Like League of Legends is all about that, and in Heroes vs. Hordes, like they really don't at all, which is actually kind of nice. And we also noticed last time that like you can kind of see it here. Like everyone has a shirt on. League of Legends, like half the heroes don't have shirts. And in this one, like all the dudes wear shirts except for Gladiator and like Necromancer. I guess Warlord doesn't have a shirt. I guess he's got a beard. But yeah, they don't really sexualize the heroes in Heroes vs. Hordes the way they do in other games, which is kind of interesting. I don't know how it impacts sales or not. Speaking of Warlord, real quick, as I mentioned him, he is one of the queens here. He's one of the better heroes for Dragon's Tower. You combine his just unlimited amount of damage, plus the fact that he can heal from his forge, and you've got a very, very strong hero for Dragon's Tower. Top 3, top 4, see exactly where he ends up placing. You do need a 5-star forge for this dude, and you do want at least 4-star levels. Like, that's the big cutoff for Warlord in every game mode. He's like end of endgame. So you want like 35 plus heroes in your roster. You want 5-star forge and 4-star levels. Warlord then pops off for sure. One of the best heroes in Dragon's Tower. Oracle I've been like surprisingly down on. I thought she'd be stronger in Dragon's Tower, and her damage just isn't there. Like, it's worse than Artificer in my experience. So I have her down here. Let's see. This Monk's probably better than this. This is probably here. I'm actually higher on Tinkerer, I think. Am I here? Yeah, I'm over here. Something like this. But Oracle, yeah, surprisingly doesn't have enough damage for the game mode. Again, those first 20 seconds are brutal for her. So she'll usually get through them, but without enough health to do a second floor, at least in my experience. Paladin is something like this. I think. Paladin's big issue is just damage. So you get a bunch of disruption, but you don't have enough damage to like follow up on the pushback kind of thing. Has been the biggest problem. Let me try one thing. Okay, that worked. Oh, sorry. I was trying to think through how to get all these things to show. So I zoomed out one level, and that seemed to work. So I'll take that. You guys can all still see, right? Yeah, it looks like it's still coming through. Okay. So yeah, Paladin is a pawn. Good to start off a level, but like typically in my experience, it doesn't have the damage to keep going. Scroll Sage I don't own, but is generally a bad hero, so probably down there. He's the one hero you don't want to get in this Dice Dash. I'll talk about that in a minute. Are they all out? Okay, this Dice Dash event has some interesting priorities. I would say now, early in the game, and I think Owl actually has this great post in the main thread about it that he's done now, I think, for several of these events. You want Oracle if you're early in the game or mid-game. So, like, if you're still trying to beat hard mode, I think Oracle's the best get for the heroes from this Dice Dash event. If you've already beaten hard mode, then I think Astral Mage is probably your best late-game hero to grab. Astral Mage is really good in Dragon's Tower, as we're going over here, and really good in the end of Nightmare mode. If you need globals, so if you already have, let's say, Warlord, so you don't need an endgame hero, then the globals from Energy Mage are your best bet. And then lastly is, then Crystalmancer, I guess. Crystalmancer would be probably after Energy Mage for like a high damage potential hero. Again, she needs star levels and she needs to get a forge eventually, but she will be strong. And then the last one is Scroll Sage is crap. Just like such crap. So that's the rough priority for this event is Oracle if you're mid to early in the game, Astral Mage if you're later in the game, and Energy Mage if you already have a strong endgame hero that needs more buffs, followed by Crystalmancer for like just like a pretty decent, potentially higher cap endgame hero, and then lastly Scroll Sage. And I learned today, because John pointed it out in the guild, that there's only 1,250 forge tokens for any hero. So like, what I'm gonna do is get Astral Mage up to 1 forge level, and then put the rest of the hero shards into Crystalmancer. And I'm not gonna go for Scroll Sage. Scroll Sage would give me like plus 80 magic damage at this point. It's just, what's the point? Pirate Queen I found to be not very strong in this game mode. She needs her instant kill to be enabled, and it's not, so not very strong. But she has been able to like at least clear out some horde for me. Let's see. Playkeeper. Playkeeper's got some damage to him at higher star levels. This guy's a little bit sleeper. Not a lot of people invest in him, but if you do, let's move this here. He can actually pump out some deeps. So let's maybe go like this down here. Oracle's definitely better than him. That for now, something like this. But for Playkeeper, you're gonna need star levels, and you're gonna need, what did I do? You're gonna need star levels, and you're gonna need Forge. But at higher levels, can like pump deeps. So. aim and Slayer equals insert for Forgeless Hero Forge when in Discord. All right, I knew you were somebody. I couldn't place it. Monk is Aang. Yep. Let's see. Barb doesn't have a shirt either. Oh yeah, he doesn't have a shirt. He's just Warlord in reverse. Oh wow, looking at that, look at that. The art is like the same. I just noticed. Same mohawks, same thing. One's just a dude and one's an orc. All right. I wonder what else they share. My Artificer is not forged, which would help if it was. So, Artificer's got like massive high cap on damage in most game modes, so he might actually be here. But I've been playing. I have Assassin full max, 5-star Forge and 4-star levels, and I feel like they usually kind of like go in parallel. So that's one of my placing for here. Although Oracle disappointed relative to these two, relative to Assassin, so not sure. But all these guys are good for like a floor generally. I think you're kind of like it'll be a little bit of like just like anyone could be kind of placed anywhere here. Hi, Eccentric Cat. You know what, Eccentric Cat? I just realized that you had Cat in your name like a week ago. This didn't. Whenever I read it, it just never clicked. But then I saw you post a meme with a cat in it, and I was like, oh, you have Cat in your name. Not to mention your fantastic skin that should have won. Your Necromancer skin should have won, 100%. Pumpkin Shade. Pumpkin Shade, I have right now as like a pawn, probably. The issue with Pumpkin Shade is if you get him up to higher Forge levels with his new Forge and higher star levels, he actually does a ton of damage. In my testing in Boss Brawl, at least, like he pushed really substantial damage. Higher than the Priestess and the Gladiator. And I think even Peter Venkman. So I'm actually, this might be, with his new Forge, might be slept on a little bit. I think pre-Forge, he's probably a pawn. I don't know who's going to want to invest in it, but like with the Forge, might actually be up here. He did a lot of damage in Boss Brawl relative to some other heroes that I know do decent damage. So I was impressed. This is probably adventurous. It's probably somewhere in here, but I'm only even here for now. Again, you're going to need a big investment here, but like this is endgame anyway. So I don't know if you're going to want to invest in a 5-star Pumpkin Shade, but you could. Puppeteer I actually like for Dragon's Tower. I've used him to beat 2 floors before. I do have him at a 4-star Forge, and I'm going to get 4-star levels pretty soon. I have high upside on Puppeteer, and with the new fix, that could be helpful in Dragon's Tower. The fact that it collects XP, you could maybe get away with not wearing wizard boots, but you probably still would want to. But I think this actually is a surprisingly strong hero. Like all these new kind of heroes, if you get them up to Forges and star levels, will like kind of do work. Reaper, there are some fun videos of Reaper just insta-pulling in all of the Horde to his own demise. So Reaper is not one you want to break out in Dragon's Tower. Really at all. Rocket Pilot, love me some Rocket Pilot, my favorite hero in the game. And when he was featured that one week, when we all watched him fly out of bounds together, that was awesome. So he's got decent Dragon Tower skills, but is never going to be top tier. When he was featured, he was great. So the big thing is his ultimate makes him invulnerable in the game mode. He's technically flying, and so he flies over the Horde. So you can play around that to a certain extent to at least like usually to beat a floor. So I like Rocket Pilot a lot. Santa's actually a very strong mate, a very strong pawn, maybe even like a low knight. He'll have trouble beating a whole floor, but his cannon usually lets him clear out like at least like a hole through the Horde at the beginning, so he can like live through and get you a couple levels. So that's big. Sentry Specialist, the problem with Sentry Specialist is just that her Sentry has to power up, and if she doesn't have time to do that, she's really weak. And you have to grab Cooldown Tome. So she's probably more in this pawn range. She can actually be like a net negative if like she just insta dies, which has happened to me before. So she's like low pawn, high, worse than pawn, just because of the way that her kit works, where she needs to ramp, and you don't have time to ramp. Spirit Shaman, grab this real quick, is real bad. Even when it was featured, still died for me really quickly. So I'm not sure that Spirit Shaman is someone you want to bring on. Maybe with the buff she's better, but I haven't tried since then. I was not a fan of Spirit Shaman. Echo I don't like as a hero, but I think is actually potentially kind of strong. When you lose all agency during your ultimate, it just feels awful. I think with a Forge, though, and adventure scaling, she's not bad. Again, that's like a pretty common theme here. Like if you get 4 star levels and they have adventure scaling with a Forge, they'll clear out a couple floors for you. Guy never tried Lionheart. Hey Guy, I tried Lionheart. I'm a guy who tried him. Lionheart, for me, at 3 star levels, consistently clears a floor. Maybe 2. So I think Knight's appropriate in my testing. Maybe 4 star levels he'll move up to like just like a high Knight. But he needs a Forge. Bro needs a Forge. Let's see here. Slime Sage is god-awful. Everything. The guy needs some help in life. Snake Emperor's got like massive damage upside. All these guys in my guild, so whatever is like a Snake Emperor pro believer. Again, Forge and scaling, he's gonna get real strong. So again, I don't know if you're ever gonna want to invest in these guys. You'd be investing a lot of power into like Dragon's Tower, where there are obviously better heroes. So I don't like recommend it, but I think if these guys are full max, like 4 star levels, 5 star Forge kind of thing, are quite strong. So keep that in mind too. Like while other guides, I typically think of like beginning players, this is very much like thinking the end game, where you have 4 star levels and a 5 star Forge. Like that's kind of the mental model that I'm approaching this with for the heroes. This is very much not like I just got the hero, how does he do? This is like you've invested something into him, where will he end up kind of thing. So like, even saying that out loud, maybe these guys move up too. With their Forges and stuff, these guys get real strong. Sportmancer is the same kind of thing, going a little bit out of order here. Sportmancer's got big damage upside, but you need Forges. So again, if you're willing to invest in him and you like him, he can push into Dragon's Tower for you. Shield Warden has an argument to be the best hero in Dragon's Tower. The big thing that separates Shield Warden from everybody else is he gets a whole bunch of damage from his leveling up. So at 4 star levels, he gets his strong special stat. It's just like a pure boost to damage. And all on the way, the 4 star levels are going to amp his base damages tremendously. So Shield Warden with 4 star levels is a beast in Dragon's Tower. Like he can 0 to 20. I'm on floor difficulty 39. He literally 0 to 20 hit this week for me. I wasn't paying too much attention, but he's really strong. And I think he has the potential to be number 1, number 2, something like that. I haven't played with his Forge, and so like I'm already beating it easily with a 4 star Shield Warden. Imagine a 4 star Shield Warden with a Forge is going to be very strong. So the big thing with him is just that he can clear Horde. Like that's the hard part, is clearing Horde. And there is one way for all heroes to clear Horde and at least be helpful pawns, which I will still talk about in a minute. Steam Golem. Steam Golem was great as a featured hero. Not super great otherwise, so probably somewhere here in the pawn range. All right. So Stormborn, I feel like, should be better at this game mode. The way his kit is designed, right? He doesn't take damage every 3 hits, every 5 seconds or something like that. But I just haven't been able to put out enough damage to survive through his shield being down. So like Shield Warden is doing more damage than Stormborn. That said, Stormborn still isn't 4 stars for me, so I think on the higher side, right, he's going to be up here as like a strong couple of floor hero type dude. Maybe even over here because he's got a shield, something like that. Maybe I have. This whole range is going to be interesting to look through at the end. Tide Warden, I've heard, is not great. I don't own her. I've never heard anything good about her. So Trapper I like a lot. Trapper, you can set up. First off, he does enough damage to get through the first 20 seconds by himself without this extra full tip. And then you can get his traps to basically just surround him, and he'll do enough damage that way to survive. So Trapper, for me, has actually been the MVP of a couple runs. I really like Trapper. And I only have him at 3-star Forge and 3-star levels. So again, like, I think this guy has actually got like upward potential. She's probably more down here. She's got a lower ceiling, but I think Trapper has a higher ceiling. I think his ceiling's probably here. Something like this, maybe? I'm gonna have to think through exactly, like, with if we assume 4 stars levels to the 5-star Forge, where these guys eventually end up. Oh man, I'm running out of room here. I might move some of these down into the ponds just to make it look prettier. Is that okay? See if I can get through. I'm not gonna be able to quite nail it all. Who was that? And that was somebody that was in here, right? Oh, Void Raven. Void Raven needs his Forge. It was such a sad time. I don't know why we all accepted the fact that, like, for 6 months, heroes didn't have Forges. What was going on? But if Void Raven gets a Forge, this guy's legit. I have him at 4-star levels. He puts out more damage than Assassin without a Forge. Really, really strong hero. He felt bad on release, and he's not great in game modes where Horde don't have a lot of health, but in Dragon's Tower, they do have a lot of health, and his ability to, like, hit multiple Horde at the same time really stacks. So Void Raven's surprisingly strong in this game mode. Let's see, Werebeast is top 3 for sure. I don't know exactly on this spectrum where he'll fall. A lot of people think Werebeast is number 1. Werebeast has just an insane amount of healing and shielding. He's the only one that gets both. But his big downside is damage. So you have to figure out how to clear out Hordes. So I'm actually going to put him back up here, and we'll talk about him in a second. Gladiator I liked. Gladiator's got a slow in his kit and his base attack. And you can get his ultimate to proc super quickly with reduced ultimate activation. That said, I wasn't totally impressed by his end of game damage numbers. So he's going to be somewhere in here. This really sucks. I'm off by like one little pixel here. So actually, let's put him in like a high pawn for now. These guys have Forges. She's bad. All right, let's go for now. The Priestess, I like a lot. Playtesting with this one. This one was so much fun to play playtesting. She has massive damage upside. Let's go like here. Move him down here. The Priestess has massive damage upside. The Forge is really, really powerful. And she's a new hero that gets adventure damage scaling. The problem is, because she's so new, you're not going to get 4-star levels on her forever unless you pay for it. It's going to take you like 6 to 12 months to like get her up to 4-star levels to make her useful in Dragon's Tower. And that's the general problem with a lot of newer adventure heroes. So the reason why Astral Mage is so great for Dragon's Tower 2, and Shield Warden for that matter, it's just they've been around a while. So like if you got them in adventure like I did last year, you've been slowly faction warsing them up to the point where they're 4-star levels now. Otherwise, so like to get Priestess up to 4-star levels is going to be like a really big investment, particularly because she wasn't an adventure hero. So like only a select few got her, but she's got a really big upside. So let's go like this. You know, I think Bunny is interesting. Bunny is just straight damage, but like I've been there with him. I've seen the 5-star 5 Forge Bunny, and it's still not great. So let's go down there, something like this. All right, Warlock. Warlock, I actually think is one of the better heroes in the game. Basically, and every time anyone tests Warlock, Warlock comes out like just rocking. So Warlock, you need a 5-star Forge, and ideally 4-star levels, like I've been saying. But then you start getting slows and just a ton of damage. And Warlock has like super high caps. So she's a sleeper hero in this game. Surprisingly strong. So for someone that doesn't get talked about a lot, she is one that I think has the biggest upside. So I'm not entirely sure she should be a queen, but I want to make this graph look pretty, so I'm going to leave her there. So she's getting special promotion to queen status because I want to make this look pretty. All right, and then the last one we got here is Werebeast. So there is a big argument about these three, I think, and like even maybe this guy, he's probably number 3, where these 3 should fall in the top 3. Werebeast's biggest downside is he doesn't have damage. The way you can circumvent the fact that he doesn't have damage or that any other hero doesn't have damage is with Heroic Wizard Hat. This is the thing I've been alluding to the whole time, but Heroic Wizard Hat is a game changer in Dragon's Tower. That one item single-handedly like moves everybody up a level. So anyone that was a king becomes a queen, anyone that's a knight, so on and so forth. What the meteors do from Wizard Hat is let you survive the first 20 seconds. That guarantees that basically any hero can get you 1 or 2 levels, and then potentially at least like get you through the first specialist part of the 1500 floor horde floors, or survive through the whole longer floors. Wizard Hat is unbelievably important. Now Hax told me this like day 1, but he did it like in a way that was like, oh yeah, I wear Wizard Hat. But it really should have been like, wear Wizard Hat. If you have heroic gear, the way you're going to start making 35 plus way easier is Wizard Hat. I literally went from having 27 to 30 deaths per floor to 0 because of Wizard Hat. What Wizard Hat does is it allows these 3 dudes to not take any damage the first 20 seconds. Wizard Hat is the underlying OP item in Dragon's Tower at higher levels. So that's the key to making any of this work, is you have to like figure out how to get them, how to kite, and you have to figure out how to get them up to 4-star levels with 5-star forge, but then you need Wizard Hat. And I confirm that I'm allowed to talk about this. Just for the guys in the guild. I confirmed that I can talk about this. But Wizard Hat is the big innovation here. And you still have to learn how to kite with them, but it makes up for the lack of damage for Werebeast, to a certain extent for Shield Warden, and it just makes Astral Mage like incredibly strong. So in my opinion, if I have to be honest, I'd say Astral Mage is the best hero in this game mode. Werebeast is second, and Shield Warden is third. Before I knew about the existence of Wizard Hat, I would have flipped it like this. But Wizard Hat makes like a huge difference, and it makes Astral Mage basically unkillable because her weakest point is the first 20 seconds before her shield builds, and Mage Hat lets her, Wizard Hat lets her build her shield. So that is the spoiler I've been saving for the end of this video. If you made it all the way the whole hour of me mumbling through the heroes, Heroic Wizard Hat is going to be super important for you late in Dragon's Tower. So F Unity Shark, who has been leveling up with iMac, myself, and who else from the cakery, and he doesn't know about Wizard Hat. I'm letting him know about it. So you'll go from like 27 deaths a run to 0, or at least like I've been testing out heroes, and heroes still die. So like Leprechaun would still die eventually, and like Oracle still dies eventually, but they can go much longer than you'd expect. So like these 3 guys are still tremendously strong in Dragon's Tower. This guy obviously can push numbers for you, and then these 2 guys, again, I haven't play tested personally, but I know to be very strong heroes. And so that's my spoiler for Dragon's Tower. Hope that Freywood doesn't listen to this and nerf the one item that is like the secret to this game mode. But like, if you have to learn how to kite with Mage Hat, and you're good to go. That's what's going to separate you pushing the end of Dragon's Tower. So something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. That's my big spoiler for today. Let me read through the comments here to see if I missed anything along the way. Shield Warden Forge is great. Let's see, Steam Golem. Yeah, Steam Golem needs a forge. All these guys need a forge. Warlock, I don't actually remember which 5-star you go. I think it's left. Mosin knows for sure. If you're not sure, ask in Discord, and somebody who knows will tell you. But Warlock is just playtest a little bit to figure out which I think it's left, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's see. Male version of a witch is a wizard. A warlock is a male version of a witch. Okay, so that's a dude. Got it. Warlock's a dude. I think it's the hair and like the eyeliner. I mean, it's like his eyebrows, but I think that's what it was. Okay, Warlock's a dude. Yeah, Barbarian isn't worth the healing. 302. I think you've told me that before. Yes, Heroic Night Ring is also the big... Ascended Night Ring is big. Ascended Night Ring lets you clear out the elites. Can potentially one-shot the elites, which is really big and makes kiting much easier. Yeah, I hopefully I don't just nerf the shit out of Dragon's Tower with that one. I don't think Freywood watches these, so I'm gonna go with that. But that's the big learning I've had. So someone asked me, I think earlier in the chat, let me get back up here, just to talk about like general strategy and builds. Let's see, was that Wax Fruit? Okay, so Kronos actually up here earlier said that Warden's actually surprisingly strong. Okay, so Warden, her kit reads really, really well. Like, she's got a slow, she's got pushback. It's just a damage issue, probably. So I'm not sure exactly where she falls. I don't own her, but her kit reads well. So, like, let's say High Pawn. Circuit Breaker sucks, okay? From Kronos, too. So that's, we got some thoughts here. Who asked for, okay, gear options and trade-offs. So gear options, general build that I use at this point is actually the most interesting build in the game. Mage hat, ranger chest, wizard boots, rogue gloves, rogue necklace, and knight ring. Right? It's the biggest hodgepodge of build in the game. Now that's the one I've settled on, full heroic. In Ascendant or Mythic gear, you don't need... I don't remember when Ranger starts at... The reason why you take Ranger chest is for the additional spins. You take Wizard boots to attract XP. You take Wizard hat for the Rain of Fire. You take the Rogue glove and amulet for the crit chance and the crit multiple. And then you take Night Ring for the ability for it to explode, have shields explode. So what happens is on level up, you can use those shields to try and kill elites, which is really, really important. But that's the general framework. Oh, you know what I can do? I think about it. I'm gonna just delete this. Oh, that looks pretty. I still couldn't have snuck in an extra hero over here. But yeah, so that's the general gear. It's actually like really interesting. It's like one of the only game modes where it's not just like do boring general gear setups. Like you don't get any set bonuses with it, but it's in my opinion the best combination of everything. And then kiting. So kiting is you got to practice. There's a couple of things you can do early on in the run. Try and get to a corner, like really early on, like as soon as the thing loads, start running to a side. You can kind of like U-shape kite. I've had success with that. And then like for particular elites, there are interesting ways to kite towards them or away from them. It's like too nuanced to go over now, but like as you play through it, you'll learn them. But run to a corner and then you kite and figure out how to kite certain elites in certain ways are the big ones. Let's see. Any new... Okay, so Mosin says left, left, left on the Warlock Forge. That's what I think intuitively thought it was, but I wasn't perfectly sure. Frey's not watching because he's in Germany or something. It's too late there, right? Just recently got Knight. Let's see, King Mario. Just recently got Knight's 4-star Forge. Yes. So Knight, did I delete Knight? Oh, I did. Oh man. In my deleting the skins one, I deleted Knight too. Knight is a knight. So that makes that pretty easy. But Knight is like actually really strong. 4-star Forge helps a lot. And his biggest weakness is that he's slow. And so when game mode just give him set movement speed, he actually gets much stronger. So Knight is like a strong Knight. Probably better than Leprechaun. Let's see. I know Hack said Ranger chest gets swapped out to Knight for Astral to be able to get to 90% armor when you need to get to 90% armor. Yeah, I guess in my... Hack's beat all 50 Dragon Tower floors, so he's better than me. The reason why I like Rangers still is I feel like for most heroes, I'm already like near 60. I know the way armor works is it like exponentially gets more important those last couple of percentages. So... but I have found in my runs that getting Scrap Hammer is more important than the extra armor. Because I still almost get hit. And I think Hax has significantly more damage than I do. So I get more value right now from having Scrap Hammer than the additional armor you get from armor from Knight's armor. That's been my mental trade-off there. But I could be wrong. And it could be that Knight armor is stronger in all circumstances. All right, guys. That's my ranking of the best heroes for Dragon. Let me quickly look at this. So I'm pretty happy with this top one. Maybe that. Some people will just say Werebeast is easy. Werebeast is definitely the best hero at lower Dragon Tower floors, where like he can just kill stuff. But the problem is like Dragon Tower is not fun then. I kind of started off the stream by saying that I hated Dragon Tower when it first came out because it was too easy. The way to make Dragon Tower fun is to push yourself. And so Werebeast at early levels of Dragon Tower, earlier floors, earlier difficulties, is just totally OP. But he's not as strong later when he actually needs to clear Horde. So the interesting thing here is kind of their caps. All these guys are very, very similar. They're going to clear like 2-3 floors for you. I would say that like somebody like Snake Emperor, Dark Mage, Trapper, these guys with like 5-star forges and 4-star levels are very, very strong. Dark Paladin is just more common, as is Necromancer. I think I like this order a little bit better. Clockwork Mage, this is definitely not her element, but I'm always surprisingly happy with how she clears out a couple of floors for me when I use her. And again, Wizard Hat makes her even stronger. Sporemancer could probably get moved up. He's the same kind of league where I think his upside damage is super, super high. Maybe this. Although Bunny, for being my highest damage hero, still doesn't have enough damage. So like it just might not be enough. Although Trapper does well. So maybe you also need to slow too. That's what Trapper has, is a slow. These guys are all, I think, about accurately. I'm surprised Stormborn isn't stronger, honestly, so far. So he's surprisingly in here somewhere. A lot of these guys have upside if they get forges. And then most of them are just like straight damage heroes. Pawns are what they are. Again, a pawn is valuable. So like having another hero you can use as backup just at the beginning of the start of floor is big. Oh, the one thing I didn't talk about too, something to keep in mind, as with talents, you do more damage the less health you have. So it can actually be that a hero will be stronger on the second floor they do than the first because they start at half HP. So when you start at half HP, you do like, I think it's like 20 to 30% more damage, something like that. And that can make a big difference, particularly if you're a featured hero. So taking damage and like going through a floor can actually make some heroes stronger. It really applies to Barbarian. If he gets to like 25% health, he really ups his damage because of his 4-star level strong stat bonus and that talent that he can start actually putting out like a whole heck of a lot of DPS. So don't sleep on heroes that are like a quarter to a half health. They can actually be really helpful for clearing out at least the beginning of the next floor. And that's something to know throughout this whole like game mode, is that like your whole roster does matter here. And they all have value except for these guys down here who just instant die and make it worse. But everyone else has value. Let's see. Anything else I missed on here? Yeah, Priestess I think can be like pretty legit by the end of the game. All right, everyone, appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. Again, please like and subscribe if you like the channel. I think most people have that. They're already here, so I appreciate all you guys. Special thanks to all the executive producers. See if I can remember all of them. There are a whole bunch of them now. There is Cake Invictus, Riverwind, TheWuba, Krabs, Charlos, Lady Ikaika, Paradox, Arc, TallaNasty, Cemar. I think this is the last month for Bunny. VKNinja, Clinton, Roz. Roz was the most recent one, and there's no way I can pronounce his name right, so I'm going with the simpler version of it. Sorry, dude. And Sumamormy. I think that's all of them. That's like 15. Pretty good, guys. I really appreciate the support, everyone. It means a lot to me. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them as comments. I will get to them as quick as I can. All the comments actually really help with the algorithm, so appreciate it there. And remember, always do your adventures. All right, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.